We're at the sandstone parking area at Red Rock Canyon, and this area, 11 o'clock on the last Saturday in October, is already filled. So if you come this late, you're not going to find a parking spot. You're looking at the cliffs in the background, which are the Keystone Thrust. And I believe we're looking at El Padre Mountain. And to the left, El Bastardo. And we've been up on the saddle between them. If you look at LasVegasAreaTrails.com, Kyle Canyon Grand Crossing North. We stood in that saddle. Now let's take a quick look around Red Rock Park. There you see the Rainbow Mountains. Let's see, to the left of them, or the right of them, is, yeah, there's White Rock Mountain. We're getting them straight. White Rock Mountain, and then on the west side of Red Rock Canyon is a whole additional wilderness, Rainbow Mountain Wilderness. And all those mountains that you see up there, Bridge Mountain, that smooth brown dome on the right, Rainbow Mountain, and to the left of Rainbow Mountain, Mount Wilson, and then onward down the Rainbow Mountains, and you see right out the end of Red Rock Canyon is Blue Diamond Mountain. And then we're going to circle around to the Calico Hills. These are an upper section of the Calico Hills. Climbers love this area. Rock climbers. Good place to practice with ropes. Definitely do not attempt this when the rocks are wet. And don't attempt it during the heat of the summer. I imagine these rocks get very, very hot. The temperature around here can rise up to 115, 120 degrees, and the surface temperature much higher. You definitely don't want to put your hands on the rocks at that time. So we've got Red Rock Canyon here. There's the Madre Mountains Wilderness, and I showed you the Rainbow Mountain Wilderness just a bit ago. Okay, let's go ahead and hit Turtlehead Peak. We're going to call this Turtlehead Peak with a twist because we're going to take an upper ridge rather than the regular trail. And they've already gated off this parking area. If you're going to do the Calico Tanks or Turtlehead Peak, or just any reason to be in this parking area, you need to be here probably 8 o'clock or before. You might have a chance if you wait until 9, but after that, all bets are off. Entering the trailhead, you can see the sign for Turtlehead Peak on your left, Calico Tanks on your right. That's pretty much how the trails go. There's the first view of Turtlehead Peak right in the center. And we're going to find out why they call this the sandstone quarry parking area in just a moment. Between 1905 and 1920, blocks of this sandstone were quarried. Some of the blocks were in the area of 10 tons or more, and here you can see some of the remaining blocks. It became uneconomical to continue after 1920 to quarry these blocks, but how beautiful, used in construction. Sandstone quarry. And here's a shot of the quarry. You can see how the blocks were carved out of this wall here. Okay, continuing on past the quarry. Up toward Turtlehead Peak. And here's the Great Divide where Turtlehead Peak splits off to the left, Calico Tanks splits off to the right. And you can pause the video to read about Turtlehead Peak. And there's Turtlehead Peak. Okay, we've descended into a wash momentarily as the trail crosses the wash, but one thing I'd like to point out is that you can take this wash all the way up to the base of the cliffs ahead and then circle around. There is a passageway, another wash that will take you to the Calico Basin, Brownstone Basin area for a southern approach to La Madre Mountain. And La Madre Mountain is the one on the right up there. El Padre is on the left. And the area between is called the Notch, and you can actually climb the Notch. Look at the La Madre Mountain South page on LasVegasAreaTrails.com for that. Okay, here we are crossing that wash again. It will take you up to up and around the top of the ridge that I call it Turtlehead Peak Ridge. We'll take a look at it when we get up further, but it'll take you to the base of those cliffs, the Keystone Thrust, where you can see El Bastardo on the left and El Padre Mountain on the right. And once you hit the base of the cliffs, there will be another wash that splits off to the right. You can take that over to the Calico Basin and then continue on up the south side of La Madre Mountain. I call this next stretch the gateway to Turtlehead Peak. You pass between these rocks and you continue on up. And we'll take a look at the whole landscape of the various approaches to Turtlehead Peak in a moment. Let's just circle around, get an idea of the whole area where we stand. See, we're looking west now at the tip of White Rock Mountain. Then you can see the Rainbow Mountains, a few more Calico Hills, and we're actually in a canyon between two sets of Calico Hills. And then looking down into the sandstone quarry parking area. We'll continue circling around here. Very beautiful rock formations. Jurassic era frozen sand dunes. And there we are back at the Gateway and Turtlehead Peak. Okay, now you can see the whole various routes for Turtlehead Peak. You'll see to the left of Turtlehead Peak, you'll see a type of canyon, divot, gully. Anyway, that gully is the main trail to Turtlehead Peak. We're going to take the ridge above and to the left of that gully, and you could also take the ridge to the right, a lot more difficult. But we're going to take the ridge to the left. We're going to take that high ridge and then circle around at the top of the gully and then head on up to Turtlehead Peak. What we'll do is we will hug when we're on Turtlehead Peak. We're going to hug the left edge as we ascend Turtlehead Peak to the summit. There are a couple plateaus on the way up. Here's one. Looking back toward the Calico Hills. Circling around. The footing here is not the best. Turtlehead Peak. And you can see the gully between Turtlehead Peak and the ridge on the left. We're going to take the ridge on the left. And then circling around to the La Madre Mountains. El Padre on the right. El Bastardo on the left. The saddle between. Where we stood a few weeks ago. Kyle Canyon Grand Crossing North on Las Vegas area trails. Circling around. It's White Rock Mountain. The Rainbow Mountains. And Red Rock Canyon. Okay, that next rise on the left is where we leave the trail. We're going to head to the top of that rocky section right in the center, and then take a right and head along a ridge to the saddle between Turtlehead Peak and the ridge beyond on the left. Here's Turtlehead Peak. Red Rock Canyon. Rainbow Mountains. White Rock Mountain. Keystone Thrust. El Bastardo. Saddle. El Padre. And then back where we began. Okay, this is why we call it Turtlehead Peak with a twist, because here's where we leave the main trail, which goes in that direction, and we head straight up to this high point and then beyond. We'll circle around the left side of that higher hill beyond. Okay, we just summited that first rocky area above the trail. You can see the trail below us down in this area. And then the trail continues on over down in this area. That's the main trail. And that trail heads up the gully between Turtlehead Peak and the high ridge to the left. And we'll be taking that down after we summit Turtlehead Peak. What we're going to do now is circle around the left side of this next high area and find a way up to the upper ridge. So we'll see how that goes. Okay, you see two rocky high points ahead. There's a lower one and a higher one. And the key is to get to the top of the lower rocky wall, take a left, and then circle around the left side of the higher rocky wall. There's quite a bit of slippery, slidey slope action going on up there, but we should be able to do it. This little slippery, slidey traverse is quite the experience. We're above the lower cliff edge, and there's the upper cliff edge up there. I've gone too high before and I've had to back climb, so I'm going to continue on here, try to work my way up, but not ascend too high until we reach the far side, the left side of that high rocky area. And you can see the trail below. That's the main trail down there. There it goes right between those two rocky areas. Okay, we have traversed this slippery, slidey, loose rock area, and you can see the trail below. Rainbow Mountains, White Rock Mountain, Keystone Thrust, El Bastardo, El Padre, and we're heading up now toward the left side of that high rocky area. So here we go. Okay, it's been about 4 years, but now I'm remembering this section. No soft landings here, very slippery, slick rock. But see, what we want to do is head up. We're going to go right between those two rocks, left, right, and we're going to go right up the center. Be a little class 3 section. So it's just a matter of getting up there. And actually, I remember this being the point at which I realized that the toughest part of the climb was behind me. And then we head up the ridge, and you can see a higher section on the ridge over there. So, yep, we are right on course, upward. Okay, no secure foothold here, but I'll try to hold this long enough to get the story. Hug the right side, and then head up. You'll take a left behind that tree, and that'll take you to a summit of the ridge, and then it's on up the ridge after that. Okay, I'm on a more secure foothold. We're continuing on. You can start to see the class 3 section. We're going to go right up that area between the two rocks. and then to look around, see where we are. Definitely quite the drop off below us. And we've ascended all of that. And continuing up. And here's that little class 3 section. I guess I've been on class 3 for some time, if you count those slopes below. Yeah, I wouldn't say that's class 2 below us either. But here we are, and we are closing in on the end of the really tough area. Although I said that before, and here we are. Okay, I'm going to try to trace that La Madre Spring Canyon, and that would be on the Las Vegas Area Trails.com page on the Willow Spring approach to the Keystone Thrust summit. And there you see the edge of White Rock Mountain. It's just on the left. And we're going to trace on up this canyon here. And it goes around the backside of these rocks. Rocks, more like cliffs. Anyway, it goes up to this summit area on the Keystone Thrust. So that's looking at that route from where we are right now, heading up the upper ridge toward Turtlehead Peak. Well, that wasn't so bad. Now we have topped the upper ridge. Now it's more of a gradual ridge on up to that saddle we saw to the left of Turtlehead Peak, in between Turtlehead Peak and this ridge. And now you can see Turtlehead Peak coming into view. And a little more class 3 climbing, not as challenging as what I've been on up to this point. Okay, here's a better look at the ridge we're on. And you'll recognize the white hills below us. We passed through those. So we got a series of plateaus to summit here before we get to the saddle. There you see the saddle. We'll actually descend to that saddle. And then, as I said, we will take the edge of the cliff on up to Turtlehead Peak. And you can see the main trail is below in the gully. I like this because it's got much more of a view, and there's a bit of challenge in climbing these rocky sections. Okay, you can see we've got a few more rocky areas to summit on this ridge. There's the saddle. We're almost even with the saddle, but yeah, we've got some rocks to bypass here or go straight for it. And then there's Turtlehead Peak. And then back down into Red Rock Canyon. And you can see the scenic drive winding around down there. And then off in the distance, there's Potosi Mountain. And the Rainbow Mountains. White Rock Mountain. Keystone Thrust. and some rocky areas to surmount here. Here we go. And once again, if you're going up Turtlehead Peak by the traditional route, you're in the gully down there, and the trail is a lot easier. There are some slick spots, and there are a couple spots you got to use your hands, but nothing like this. Well, we've pretty much made it to the top of this ridge, and you can see the ridge stretching below us. And again, Turtlehead Peak. And now it's pretty easy walk down to the saddle and then up the cliff edge, the upper cliff edge there, to the summit of Turtlehead Peak. One of the cool things about this approach is that you achieve your altitude a lot sooner, and by the time you get to the saddle, you're actually above it and pretty much rested up, as opposed to climbing up the gully and you're huffing and puffing by the time you hit the saddle. So I like this route. It's a lot longer time-wise, but it's interesting, and you get your altitude quickly, which is fun. Okay, so down the saddle and then up the outer edge of the cliff and on to the summit. And it's a lot closer than it seems by the time you hit this point. But we've got some rocks to climb on the way up. Okay, we're in the saddle now. You can see the ridge that we ascended just a bit ago. And then the main trail coming up to the saddle. Beautiful rock formations up here. And then heading on up the other side, Turtlehead Peak side. Okay, now we're on the main trail, but not for long. What we're going to do is, the main trail heads around the left side of this mound up ahead. Or we're going to go straight over the top of the mound and then head on up to Turtlehead Peak along the edge of the cliff. So we leave the main trail right at the base of this mound. And then now you can see Damsel Peak, Brownstone Basin, over to La Madre on the right, El Padre on the left, and then El Bastardo is the next cliff area, all on the Keystone Thrust. Some beautiful areas down below also. Upper Calico Hills there. Okay, let's just head up this mound. Okay, and here's where we depart from the trail. There's the trail. Here is our little route up the mound. So I'm going to put my phone down now because it's getting a little steep here. Onward. Okay, on top of the mound. There's the saddle below. And then just panning around. La Madre on the right, El Padre on the left. Calico Basin. And you can see that little gully right up there. That is the approach to the northern summit of Damsel Peak, also called Pincushion Peak. And you just go up that gully and then take a right and head right up to the summit there. And looking down into the Las Vegas Valley, And let's zoom in. Las Vegas Strip. And then the final approach to Turtlehead Peak summit. Here we go. And why do I hug the edge of the cliff as we ascend? Not because I'm a daredevil, not to prove anything, but because the firmest rocks for the ascent are right along the edge, as opposed to all the gravel, and I've had enough avalanche slopes for the day over on the ridge on the other side. So yeah, hugging the edge. Here we go. Continuing on up along the edge of the cliff. And yeah, you don't want to lean too far to the right, definitely, or even have a heavy thought on the right side of your mind. So heading on up, and you can see below, and this isn't the sheer cliff portion, we're getting there. Looking down to the saddle, and then the area I have traversed along the edge of the rocks you see on the left. And here's where the edge gets really sharp and totally steep. This is that area that we were looking at from across the way when we were on the approach ridge down in this area. Sheer cliffs. There's Damsel Peak. Yeah, sheer cliffs to the right here. So I usually, I don't get too close to the edge. But continuing on up, we're nearly at the summit. And here's a really good shot of El Padre on the left and La Madre on the right, and the notch, which is the passageway between. And yeah, it looks like there's a trail below, but anything that resembles a trail begins to disappear when you hit the notch, and then you're pretty much on your own. Then over in this direction, there's El Bastardo, and for the first time, we're seeing Griffith Peak right in the center. Griffith Peak in the Mount Charleston Wilderness, and the approach up the La Madre Spring area is right in this gully I'll show you. And again, go to the Willow Spring to Keystone Thrust, or Keystone Thrust to Willow Spring page on LasVegasAreaTrails.com to see that approach. And over here, the La Madre, El Padre notch go to La Madre Mountains South page on Las Vegas Area Trails. And then here is the saddle between Burnt Peak and El Bastardo. We stood on that saddle on the approach from the other side from Kyle Canyon on the Kyle Canyon North page on the Kyle Canyon Grand Crossing North page of Las Vegas Area Trails. Continuing up the outer edge of the cliff where the rocks are firm and the drop off is sheer. As you can see just to our right, there's that drop off. And the summit will be coming into sight soon. Yeah, I guess that was an understatement. Here is the summit of Turtlehead Peak. It's probably one of the most popular hikes in the Las Vegas area. I think there used to be a summit box up here. Maybe there's not anymore, or we just haven't gone far enough. If there's not one, you can bet it's because so many people summited this most popular hike in Red Rock Canyon that they just stopped keeping track of the box up here. But wow, look at the view. Now we're looking at the Las Vegas Valley. The whole valley has opened up. Let's get a closer look at, well, just a minute. There's Damsel Peak. You see that little pillar on the right. That's a reference point as you're climbing the south side. La Madre and El Padre, El Bastardo, Keystone Thrust, and Griffith Peak. So here we are, yes, the summit of Turtlehead Peak. You can see the scenic drive below winding around, and there's the parking area we just came from. See if we can nail it. Sandstone quarry. Now I can't find it. I'm zoomed in too far. There we go. Let's try to find it again. Aha. There it is. So now it's a pretty easy shot downhill. Takes about an hour, I think. We'll see. Be down at that parking lot. And on the Kyle Canyon Grand Crossing North page, when I stood in that saddle between El Padre on the right and El Bastardo on the left, we looked down on Turtlehead Peak, and this is what we were seeing at that time. Very beautiful up here with the junipers, the rocks, cool desert landscape with a spectacular view of Las Vegas Valley and the Las Vegas Strip. Zoom in on Frenchman Mountain, and to the left will be Sunrise Mountain. Here's Frenchman Mountain and Sunrise Mountain. Got a lot of glare on my screen here, so I think I nailed it. Okay, and let's take a look at the strip. Las Vegas Strip. Stratosphere. Okay, now we head down the traditional approach. You can see the trail over there, heading down along the midsection of that ridge that we ascended to get up here in the first place. We're in the saddle and heading downward. So here we go. And the main trail continues to wind around the mid-ridge. There's the ridge above that we ascended on the way. So we're taking this trail. This is the main trail on the way back, just so you can see the difference between the main trail and the little deviation I did on the way. And there's Turtlehead Peak. And here's the saddle right up above. And here's where the trail takes a turn to the left. Now you could keep going straight, but you're going to be in for some avalanche slopes there. So the better way is, follow the sign here and take a left, and you're going to head right over the edge, right around the edge of this rocky area. And it's actually a very good trail. You can't see it from here, but it's very good. Okay, onward. Actually, the trail is marked very well here. Just look for micro holds as you head down. There's a lot of slick gravel, but if you look closely, you can see areas that are more level, and you can see rocks that are big boulders that are just topping the trail area. Those have good traction. So yeah, it's you just got to be careful, but it's a pretty straightforward trip down. Here's a shot up the saddle from the gully. And you don't want to descend all the way down into that rocky area down there. Instead, you want to continue above it, right up here. So, here we go. You recognize this area as the area where we ascended the ridge. Remember, we circled that high point to the left and then got to the top of the ridge. Well, this is the alternative, which is the main trail. Goes right up the gully. And it's fairly straightforward. There are a few loose gravelly spots. There's the saddle up there, and then there's Turtlehead Peak. And this trail continues down and around and over through what I call the gate. Right between those rocks up there. There we go. There's the gate. Okay, so from here on, pretty much run it without breaking your head on slick gravel. There's a shot of Turtlehead Peak looking back through the gate. The Madre Mountains, Keystone Thrust. And I'm not going to go too much further in that direction because it'd go right into the sun. However, this direction is awesome. So you can see the parking lot down there. Sandstone quarry. And we're on the home stretch. And we're closing in on the parking area now. So we just thought I'd catch this in the evening sun where the colors really stand out. There's the parking area. Here's some beautiful Calico hills. And then looking on up to Turtlehead Peak, where we just descended.